You're listening to the Visiting Writers Series at Emporia State University.
Hello, I'm Kevin Rabus, and I'm here with filmmaker Derek Sellens. Welcome, Derek.
Hey, Kevin. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. So how long have you been a filmmaker, and how did you get started as a filmmaker?
Oh, God, I started filmmaking back in high school. A buddy of mine was just like, hey, I got my parents' crappy little video camera, so let's just go make a bunch of fun sketches. And immediately from, like, the very first time I picked up a little camera and started, just something clicked, and I just loved the process. I immediately kind of just understood how to do it, and it just felt so natural doing, like, okay, let's do a wide establishing shot, and then shot reverse shot, and okay, we'll do this shot. And then when we started editing, I had pretty good skills with computers. So I just immediately understood that process too. Just opened it in, put in the footage. We even had like a graphic and the music, and it just came together so quickly. And I just immediately fell in love with that. And I got addicted to it. And every time me and my high school buddies would get together, we'd just make something really, really stupid that I'm so glad YouTube didn't exist back then, because I'm glad we didn't upload it somewhere. It's just these terrible little high school short films, and we just kept doing it more and more and getting better and better until eventually we went on to college and we started doing it more pseudo-professionally, and we started to focus on particular skills. I started focusing more on the editing and visual effects aspect, where other people ended up becoming actors or cinematographers, and we just started building our profession from there, just constantly throughout all of college and beyond, just producing content because it's something we just really love to do.
Speaking of producing content, you've been working more than a decade on a series called Welcome to Arkhaven. Tell me a little bit about that and all of the work that went into it, including a lot of screenwriting.
Sure. So back in high school, like our magnum opus, my senior year, was this film called Omega Man 1 and 2. It was 2 films. And I spent the entire senior year of summer just making this one film. We put in so much time building props and costumes and shooting scene after scene after scene, and it became this big thing. And we ended up winning a ton of awards at a college level film festival, just as these high schoolers. We submitted it and went to this film festival not expecting to win anything, and then we ended up winning first place in our category, and then we ended up winning best film overall at the festival. And then we also won the People's Choice Award, meaning that the audience voted on it. And that was really this giant, massive realization that it's like filmmaking, like it just feels right. Like this is something that I can do professionally. I mean, if I'm a high schooler beating out all these people from this, community college and their film festival, like it became very real to me. So the film featured a character named Omega Man, and ever since making those high school films, the character just stuck with me. Like, he's a comedic superhero, kind of a nerd who builds a bunch of weapons in his mom's basement and wants to fight crime with them as this idealistic, kind of idiot. And I just loved the idea, and I kept coming back to it. So between feature films and corporate videos, and whenever I had time, I'd try to do a little bit of development. And recently, I have most of an entire season written. And I ended up submitting the pilot to a bunch of screenplay competitions, and I ended up getting a few finalist positions, and semifinalist positions. And now I'm an award-winning screenwriter, yay for me. And the pilot to my series is now an award-winning script. So now I'm just polishing off the development, finishing up a few more episodes, and then I'm hoping to get it actually produced in the next couple of years.
Speaking of that, how do you balance your passion projects with your work you do for others?
Poorly. Very, very poorly. I tend to get wrapped up in a lot of work, and I'm usually, just every morning as I wake up, and whoever emails me first is the job I do that day. So it's really tough when you're a freelancer to kind of schedule yourself out, and that's probably the biggest struggle that I have, because it's like, if you have no schedule, I don't even know what day of the week it is most of the time, and it's like, what am I working on today? Do I have time to commit to this? And it's tough getting in and out of a massive writing project after maybe taking a year-long break because you had a couple back-to-back feature films. It is a massive struggle. And one of the things that I created was like a universe Bible and a pitch deck. What is all the background information all put into these documents? And it's like, that's so helpful. But it really has been bashing my head against the wall. And that's why it's taken 10 years to develop one story, is because of how much else I have going on in my life. So that's the struggle, man. That's the struggle.
Tell me about what brought you to Emporia and about your involvement in Emporia, such as at the No Coast Film Festival.
So before I came to Emporia, I was already working with film festivals. I ran one called the Wild West Film Fest, and that was a 48-hour film competition in which teams of filmmakers have 48 hours to write, shoot, and edit and complete a film with a given set of criteria. After I ran that in Lawrence for a while, I met my wife. She needed to get a postdoc after getting her PhD in biology. So we ended up living in Sweden for 4 years or 3.5 years or however much time it was. And then she got a position here at Emporia State University, working with the Payrock Center as well as a professor in biology. And we've been living in Emporia for about 2 years now. And, I immediately wanted to become part of the filmmaking community. So I discovered the No Coast Film Festival, reached out to those guys. I'm currently on the board of that event. And I'm also working with the Halfway to Everywhere Music Festival, doing some music video stuff with them. So it's a lot different than the 48-hour stuff, a lot less stressful. People are a lot kinder with this film festival stuff. So it's neat because with No Coast this last year, we had like a team of filmmakers come from Australia, a 25-hour flight to come here to Emporia. We had 2 different teams come in from Brooklyn, groups of filmmakers from Brooklyn, New York, to come visit, more groups from Los Angeles. So we're kind of slowly becoming this international film festival here. And we have this, gorgeous venue that is the Granada Theater and, full days, a whole weekend of short films playing at the theater for the community. And it's been a lot of fun putting that kind of stuff together.
Excellent. Well, rock on with your work with No Coast. And you mentioned your spouse and a little bit about community. Tell me about the kind of support you get with your life partner and with those you work with in a community as filmmakers. How is that important and how does that work in your own life?
It's massively important. It's sometimes great that my wife is so busy because as a freelancer, you never know what your hours are. So she's off, working her job as oft as a lot. She's working, the science side and the education side. So she's extremely busy. And then I get to run around doing my own thing. So it's nice knowing that somebody's not just waiting for me at home and that we're both pretty active in our community. She's trying to bring more people into the field of science, doing her educational stuff. So I think that she's really happy and supportive about the fact that I'm doing something very similar with more of the entertainment side. Community is everything with filmmaking. Filmmaking is something that you cannot do by yourself. You need a large group of people to produce good quality work. So community is absolutely everything. And that's why I got involved in so many, I was a big part of groups back in college. KU Filmworks and KU TV were student-run organizations that were just groups of people getting together to make films. And then those film festivals. And if you don't build a strong community, you're not going to be able to build strong films. So the more education, the more time that you put into working with other people and always being the person to solve problems, always being the person to try to help, it is extremely meaningful to getting good quality work done in a local area. And more with the affordability of production equipment, there's really amazing feature films coming out of the Midwest and out of any kind of even rural areas. Just here in Kansas, we've shot films like The Unseen and Goodland and Headcount and so many more. Jayhawkers with Kevin Wilmot, who ended up getting an Oscar for another film. There is so much going on in this area, and the more that we come together, the more amazing work we can accomplish with pretty much, much lower resources than before. So we're capable of creating some pretty amazing stuff so long as we all come together and work to make it happen.
Speaking of community, tell me what would be your advice for student or community filmmakers who are just beginning their journey?
For me, it's like I was just so active in film in both high school and college. And every time you go out on a film set, it could lead to an opportunity. I was invited to one commercial gig where they just needed a sound guy to hold the boom pole. And that's not something that I usually do, but it's like, hey, you got to be the person solving problems. So I went and I held the boom pole, and at the end of the shoot, the client was like, hey, we need actually a post-production person. We need an editor. And nobody spoke up. So I approached the client and I was like, hey, I'm an editor. And she's like, you're a child. You're like 20 years old. And I was like, no, come on, meet with me. So I sat down with her and I showed her the quality of my work through all the work that I had done before. So I had evidence that I could do the job. And she was like, I'll give you a shot. And through her, I ended up getting these massive jobs with like doing documentary work for the National Science Foundation. and other big clients. And I was being paid, fairly handsomely for that when I was still just like a sophomore or junior in college. So everything could be an opportunity, but you also have to have that evidence, that portfolio, that the ability to showcase what you can do and what your talents are. Filmmaking is very much a skill-based industry, and it's a talent-based industry. And I think that a lot of students make the mistake of focusing solely on having a degree and having the academic background, but it's like, people are going to hire you because you can do the job really well. Like, that's what people are going to focus on when they're looking for somebody to shoot something. Are you good at shooting something? I'm looking for an editor. Are you good at editing? A lot of it comes down to that skill. And I very, very much focused on that. And that was kind of one of the struggles that I had in college, was trying to get other students to understand, like, what employers could be looking for. And my advice to anybody starting out is, get your hands on some good quality equipment and learn how to use it to the best of your ability. If you want to be a cinematographer, be the best cinematographer that you can be, and just build a portfolio for no reason. Shoot stuff because you're bored. Produce stuff because you're bored. And it doesn't always have to be a winner. Like in high school when we were making films, it was all crap. It was all crap. It was so bad, but it made us laugh, and thank God YouTube didn't exist, because if we uploaded it, people would be like, this is dumb. But, it's all a learning experience. And as long as you're constantly rising up to the challenge to constantly overcome these learning experiences, you're bettering yourself every time you do it. So make stuff, enjoy it, and don't feel too much pressure. And it's okay to fail, so long as you keep moving forward and keep rising the bar for yourself in a healthy and positive way.
Those are excellent words to live by. Do you have any other last words for our listeners?
Last words for our listeners. Drink water, stay healthy, and take care of yourselves out there.